Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Triangle Offense. I'm Munish. As always, I'm joined by Nishant. On today's episode, we'll take a look at the point guards who actually are having redemption seasons for themselves. I want to talk about two in particular. We'll talk about briefly about the other ones, but two in particular I want to talk about today are Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose. Now, we'll start off with Russell Westbrook. He was kind of written off at the start of the season, if you remember. He was traded for John Wall to Washington Wizards. Who really cares about Washington Wizards these days?
Right.
And, and at the start of the season, they actually were impacted by COVID protocols. They missed a bunch of games. Russ was not looking like himself. Over the last 16 games, though, they're 13-3. Russell Westbrook can score 0-0-0 0.0 rebounds and 0 assists over the next 7-8 games that are left for the season and still average a triple-double. This will be the fourth time in his career that he'll be averaging a triple-double, not for a bunch of games, for the entire regular season. Fourth time. The other day he got in a match where he scored 14 points, 21 rebounds and 24 assists. This is only the third time that a player has got 20 rebounds and 20 assists in a game. One being Wilt Chamberlain, who has all insane records himself.
Right.
The second guy to do it was Russ Westbrook, and the third guy to do it is Russ Westbrook again. What is with this guy? How do you stop Russ Westbrook? I mean, he gets a lot of criticism for being inefficient, for not being part of winning teams and all of that. But you got to stop and marvel at the things that he achieves, because if Washington Wizards are in with a chance for the play-in game, it's all because of Westbrook. Bradley Beal might be the top scorer in the league or second, but wow, without Westbrook, they're not going to do this ever. Do you think he gets a little bit of unfair criticism?
No, actually. Your game, your style of play, the way you approach winning and the way you approach integrating yourself as a superstar into the bigger picture, into the team, and the role that you're given, however big that may be. All of this is relative. It's relative to the era you're playing in. It's relative to the times, and it's relative to what it takes and what constitutes a winning team. Perhaps the biggest tragedy with Russell Westbrook is he's probably in the wrong era. If he was in the Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant era, the Jordan era of the 90s, he'd have a couple of rings or more. He'd be a lot more celebrated, and his style of play would contribute to a lot more wins, even chips. The problem is the league's moved on since then. This one-man hero ball, I'm going to carry my team everywhere thing doesn't work as much anymore. There are super teams everywhere. Teams are smarter. Defenses are smarter. It doesn't work. And so we can't gloss over the efficiency aspect. Look, what Westbrook is doing is astounding. Let's give him that. He's a phenomenal player, one of the greatest competitors of his era, of any era. And his numbers are simply mind-boggling. But why is it that go back a few years, a few decades? Why is it that Wilt Chamberlain is never held in the same regard as Bill Russell or Kareem, despite all of those stats? Because those guys won a lot, the other guys. The problem with Russell Westbrook is we can't gloss over the inefficiency, because while it's true, all of these numbers, all those incredible stats, all true, and he is the guy that's willing the Wizards on, but he's also missed more mid-range jump shots than anyone else in the league.
True.
Now, when he's right up there in points, what does that tell you? That his usage rate is incredibly high. He has again found himself in a position where he can get ample opportunities. I'm not going to say stat pad anymore because he is getting wins, but ample opportunities to put those numbers up. It takes me back to a bunch of podcast episodes where people used to talk about Kobe Bryant, and you would hear a bunch of ex-players like Steven Jackson and all these guys, and they're talking about Kobe, and they say he took, like in his last game, he took what, 50 shots was it in his final game to get to 60 points. He's like, and he'll have so many games every season where he's taking 20, 25 shots in a game. Easy, 30, easy. And players would say, we'd be lucky to get 5 shots in a game. And if we miss the first 2, the other 3 aren't coming to us. We've got to go get a rebound or something. That pass is not coming. So Russell Westbrook has again found himself in a position where he's at the center of a team. The team depends on him for winning. He's able to deliver wins, and in the process, do pretty much everything for that team. Spare the points that Bradley Beal scores. And he's really the guy that lost out in all this. He thought, finally, this is his moment to shine. How much has his supermax / whatever contract prospect taken a beating because of what Westbrook has come in and done? But I don't think Russell Westbrook, all said and done, hasn't yet taken a team to the finals by himself as the chief protagonist on the team. Hasn't happened. He's come up short a bunch of times. He's failed in the postseason a bunch of times, and that's why it's held against him, his play style. Not to forget, a lot of those prior triple double seasons, there was quite shameless, unabashed stat padding in a lot of those games. That did nothing for the team other than push his stats up. So I don't think it's unfair the bashing he gets. He's a phenomenal player, but a style of game that doesn't quite translate to this era. That's the problem. So I don't think it's unfair criticism at all, however phenomenal he is.
A few weeks ago, if you remember, I said Steph Curry is taking around 12 threes a game, and I feel that is less. I think it's the exact opposite with Russell Westbrook. I think he's taking around 15 shots a game, and I think that's a lot.
Yeah.
If he takes lesser shots a game, I think that'll elevate him to the next level because he's one of the best passers of the ball. He creates easy looks for his teammates, and if he had players better than, apart from Bradley Beal, if he had above average players, Washington Wizards would be in 4th or 5th spot. I mean, 24 assists in a game is ridiculous. And on top of that, he's a top level rebounder as well. 20 rebounds, he does it now and then. It's very often. It's not even surprising anymore. If he takes lesser shots, yes, he's very inefficient. If he takes lesser shots, the other day when he got those 20 double, he just scored 14 points of 8 shots, and that was what Washington Wizards wanted. If he allows Bradley Beal to take those extra shots, I think Wizards would be in a much, much better place. Do you think that that argument stands true? I mean, if he took lesser shots, he would be a much better player?
Better player for the team, yeah, I guess.
For the team, yes.
Yeah. If he has the kind of shooters around, and you know what, the Wizards have a bunch of talented players. If only they get brought in more. I think they were hard done by coaching this season, and really all of their results are now coming from superhuman Russ Westbrook efforts. It's really nothing else that others are doing. Of course, Bradley Beal contributes. So yeah, and you know, again, but it all goes back to style of play and the era. You know who else? If Russell Westbrook looks around, if you plot a graph of shot volume versus shot efficiency, especially in the mid range, you know who he would look around and find in that graph close to him? DeRozan. He doesn't take as many shots as Westbrook, but he's just as inefficient. Takes a bunch of shots to get great points, but way below average by current league standards. Both of these players are from that 90s mid-range game school of thought. Kawhi is too, but Kawhi's adapted spectacularly well to this era. These guys haven't. Now, DeRozan's no Westbrook, but shooting-wise, they're very similar. And they're just in the wrong decade of basketball. That's all there is. So given this knowledge, I would love to see, and maybe he can even prolong his career, Westbrook, by becoming that kind of Jason Kidd in his later years kind of guy, an elite passer, above average court vision, still can go to the paint, finish strong, not a great 3-shooter, should shoot once in a while, but really use that vision to help Washington build a solid team around him and get them all involved. I can see games where he can go off for 25-30 assists if he stops shooting and starts bringing in players a little more. Do I see that happening? No, I think his pride will get in his way. I think he's too talented an athlete and somebody who loves scoring, especially when the team needs points and the team is down. I just don't see him. Like LeBron James, game 7, game on the line, if there's a pass to be made that puts somebody else in a better chance to score, he'll make that pass.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's often too giving. Sometimes you'd want him to take that shot. Westbrook is at the other end of that spectrum. There's no way he's going to pass, even if he has the toughest shot. It's a bit like Kobe in that respect. So, I mean, he would become a better player if he focuses more on his playmaking, but that's not his game. So, overall, it's detrimental. I guess it would be counterproductive if you expect him to only do that.
Yeah, while the criticism might be fair, I'd absolutely hate to face Russell Westbrook in a playoff game. Like if I was the Philadelphia 76ers or the Brooklyn Nets, I'd be hoping that the Wizards lose their 9-10 game and they either face the Hornets or someone else, but not Westbrook in that form of his. He would give them a fight. He would at least tire them out, even if not beat them. So if I was the 76ers or the Brooklyn Nets, I know whom I'm not rooting for in the next 1 week or so.
Yeah, you'd want to avoid him, but if you're the 76ers, I can totally see Ben Simmons guarding the lights out of Russell Westbrook, at least the points aspect of it. And then you'd force the ball out of his hands. And unless that ball is going to Bradley Beal, it doesn't put the Wizards in a very, very good spot. So I can see the 76ers taking them out. Sure, it'll cause them some pain, But if it's Philly, I don't see it being any tougher for them than it was for the Lakers to take out the Trailblazers last season. Sure, they have Lillard. Sure, they have a bunch of talented players, but nah, Philly, it's easy.
Okay. The other guard I wanted to talk about today was Derrick Rose. What a season he's having. Now, a couple of years ago, he moved to Detroit and he was averaging around 12, 14 points a game. No one really cared about how Detroit was performing. He was just one of those sad stories where youngest ever MVP and then a career that never really happened.
Yeah.
Right. And then this year, he moved to the New York Knicks under his former coach. And what a redemption it has been. I mean, he's not even on the starting lineup. He comes off the bench and is probably a contender for the sixth man of the year because he's averaging around 15, 16 points. But the impact that he's had on the team. Now, the New York Knicks have won 12 of the last 13, 21 and 8 since the Derrick Rose trade. That's ridiculous. And he's averaging over this last 13 game span where they're having this incredible run. He's averaging around 17 points. Yep. He's having a 51% shooting rate, 45% from three. Great numbers. When they traded him, the question was about would it reduce Quickly's minutes, the rookie. But it hasn't. It has reduced Elfrid Payton's minutes, if anything, at all. So Derrick Rose is the guy who's actually keeping New York Knicks. I mean, of course, he's not the main guy. Julius Randle is that guy. But his experience of the bench is really what is keeping the Knicks afloat and not just taking them to the playoffs, but also getting them home advantage probably because it's at fourth and they sit comfortably in fourth right now.
Yeah, look, his numbers in Detroit, it just goes to show anyone who's being sent or sentenced to play for the Pistons, there's just zero incentive to play well. We've seen it with Blake Griffin, who he's not lighting it up or anything, but he's far removed from
he's dunking.
Sure, exactly. So, yeah, Detroit's not the most inspiring of places. Only the elite stat padders do well there. If only Westbrook goes there, he'll probably average a quadruple double for the season. And that's kind of how Drummond put up all those points as well. Look, and then he came to New York. I think, given the precarious nature of his fitness, Derrick Rose, and given how fragile his body has proven to be over the years, I think it's kind of the perfect marriage in New York because in Randall, they seem to have found another mini Jokic / Doncic kind of guy that can give you like 25, 10, and 7 every game.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of players go through him. He is the point forward, which eases some of the burden that would otherwise be on Derrick Rose to run plays and be the primary ball carrier. That's A. B, they've found a way to get the most out of him without taxing him as much, which is what people were worried would happen, and that's why they were afraid that Quickly would lose some time. They've found a balance, and they found how to make him a high impact player without kind of putting high usage rate or heavy minutes on those knees and on those legs. So it's one of those rare win-wins, and as a basketball fan who's been watching for years, Derrick Rose and Carmelo Anthony, two stories where you thought they were just about done, and they found another way to reinvent themselves and become relevant, and again be in the playoff picture and be key players for their teams. It's heartening to see. I love Derrick Rose's resurgence. I love how he's found the perfect fit in New York and how they've found the best way to utilize him. Peyton losing some minutes is really not a bad thing for New York. So yeah. But a quick shout out to Lonzo Ball. I know it seems like where did this guy come from? Because we're talking about veteran guards and resurgence and all of that.
Former MVPs.
Exactly. So Lonzo Ball's nowhere near that category. But he was one of those. First of all, there was too much pressure put on him. Being the number 2 draft pick, where Magic says, I'm not even going to get into that, but there was so much hyperbole around Lonzo from Magic Johnson, no less. That's a lot of pressure. And then there's that dad. And then there's a younger brother who's tearing it up abroad and you're hearing about him. And for good reason, look what he's doing this year, LaMelo. In all this, Lonzo Ball kind of got beaten down a bit by that pressure, by the bright lights, by the spotlight and all of that. And got traded. Went to New Orleans. First season struggled as a shooter, had a miserable bubble stint. He's a pretty good defender actually, young and learning but willful. But his shooting sucked, and so in this era, nobody cares about anything else. But what he did find was a good connection with Zion. That was last season.
Yep.
This season, now suddenly Zion's a point center or whatever that position's called now. He's running a bunch of plays and the game goes through him. Ingram's running the rest of the plays. What happened was the playmaker angle of Lonzo's game was allowed to take a bit of a backseat, get a bit of a breather. And what you started seeing was what we always knew, which is an above average, an upper echelon basketball IQ player, great court vision, great ability to read the game. In a kind of Steph Curry-ish way, nowhere close on skill, but the off-the-ball movement is super impressive. He's now shooting 38% plus for the season from three, and it's not like he takes a three a game. So, and he shoots lights out on occasion. Where is all this coming from? Because he's not shooting a lot of those threes off of his own dribble. He's shooting set shots. He's picking spots. He's getting there. It's a set play. There's a screen somewhere making it tougher for the guard to chase him down. He's getting open looks, high percentage looks, and he's knocking them down. And sure, he's worked on his game. But because he's not the primary ball carrier, because they have two of them in Ingram and Zion doing it, he can now afford to use his IQ to get around to spots that offer him high percentage shots, three or otherwise. And he's become an above average catch and shoot scorer now. That's great to see. He's reinvented himself a bit, so to speak, so young in his career. It's phenomenal. And it's contract time coming up. I think he'll have a bunch of suitors. Lonzo
It's
Ball,
phenomenal. I mean, one of the stat I read about Lonzo Ball is that he was shooting 41% from three in his last season at Lakers. From the box, actually. 41% on free throws in his last season at the Lakers.
Correct.
This season he's shooting 80% from the box. That 80% is where he should be. It'll even go higher as he gets more and more experience. And I absolutely love Lonzo. I think he really stands up for himself. The other day you could see him pick up a fight with Draymond Green. Who does that? I mean, you got to be scared of Draymond Green, and he was just going head to head, toe to toe with Draymond Green and giving him a bit back of what Draymond Green actually gives you back. He had a horrible night against the Warriors the other day. He went 1 of 12 from 3-point range, and then the next day he came back. Just the next day, not a day break, and he got a career high of 33 points. So
how about that for temperament from a player that young?
Exactly. I absolutely love such guys who really don't. I mean, whose confidence is not deterred so easily, and it's really fun to watch. I think Lonzo Ball has a great career ahead of him, whether it's in New Orleans or somewhere else. We'll see. But that's all we have time for today. It was nice catching up on Westbrook and Derrick Rose, and also we got in a little bit of Lonzo Ball. We should also mention that Steph Curry's got to 300 threes this season in 57 games. How about that? Also a shout out to Carmelo Anthony, who's now in the top 10 of all-time scorers in the NBA. But we'll catch up on Monday. That's all the time for today.
All right, man. Cheers. Take care.